Humanity has always sought to leave its mark on the world. Over the centuries, works have emerged that not only challenged the imagination of their time but also became legends. Today, we will talk about the 7 wonders of the ancient world. 7 magnificent structures that were celebrated for their engineering, beauty, and monumentalism. But beyond their stones and designs, each one hides stories of greatness, mystery, and in many cases, tragedy that made them as special as they were. How did these ancient peoples achieve such feats? Join us on this journey to the past to discover the secrets behind the wonders that have fascinated the world for centuries. If this is your first time on the channel, subscribe now so you don't miss any important content about the darkest chapters of our history. First, the Great Pyramid of Giza. Let's start with the most famous and the only one still standing. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built more than 4,500 years ago in the Egyptian desert, is not only a symbol of Pharaoh's power but also an architectural enigma. The pyramid was commissioned by Pharaoh Khufu, but how did they manage to move stone blocks weighing several tons? One popular theory speaks of the use of ramps, while others suggest even more advanced methods. But the Great Pyramid of Giza is not just a funerary monument, it is also a testament to the ancient Egyptians' beliefs about life and death. This colossal stone structure has defied not only natural disasters but also attempts at looting and destruction throughout the centuries. Even today, archaeologists continue to find hidden chambers within its structure, fueling the mystery of the secrets it still holds. Curious fact: while the pyramid is praised for its mathematical precision, its sides are not perfectly aligned. Some experts suggest that it was deliberately built this way to reflect the stars. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Now we move on to a true mystery. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon, a wonder shrouded in myths and legends, as their existence has not yet been definitively confirmed. According to accounts, these gardens were a gift from King Nebuchadnezzar II to his wife Amytis, who longed for the green mountains of her homeland. It is said that the gardens were an oasis in the midst of the arid Mesopotamian desert, with elevated terraces full of exotic plants and trees that hung from above. But what is even more surprising is the possible technology used to irrigate these gardens in such a dry region. Some theorists believe a system of pulleys and pumps was used to lift water from the nearby Euphrates River. However, there is no definitive archaeological evidence of their existence, which has led some to think that the Hanging Gardens may have been more of a symbol of Babylonian grandeur than a physical reality. Curious fact: there are theories suggesting that the Hanging Gardens were not in Babylon, but in Nineveh in northern Iraq. Third, the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus. The Temple of Artemis at Ephesus was one of the most impressive structures of the ancient world, dedicated to the goddess Artemis, the patroness of the home and fertility. This temple was not only a religious center but also an architectural gem. The temple was destroyed several times throughout its history, but the one considered a wonder was the one built around 550 BCE. Its white marble columns reached 18 meters in height, and its size was more than 4 times that of the Parthenon in Athens. It was not only a place of worship but also a pilgrimage site for travelers from all over the world. Sadly, the temple was set on fire by a man named Herostratus, who sought to immortalize his name through the destruction of something grand. Although it was rebuilt, it was eventually destroyed by the Goths in the 13th century and was never restored. Curious fact: it was said that the day Herostratus set the temple on fire was the same day Alexander the Great was born, as if the gods had exchanged one wonder for another. Fourth, the statue of Zeus at Olympia. The statue of Zeus at Olympia was one of the most astonishing creations of the sculptor Phidias, the same one who sculpted the statue of Athena in the Parthenon. This colossal statue of the Greek god was located in the temple that housed the first Olympic Games. With a height of over 12 meters, the statue of Zeus was made of ivory and gold and majestically sat on a cedar throne. Ancient accounts describe how the statue inspired both fear and awe in all who saw it. For the ancient Greeks, it was a symbol of Zeus's supremacy over the gods. However, over time, the statue disappeared. Some suggest that it was moved to Constantinople, where it was destroyed in a fire in the 5th century. Today, only descriptions and reproductions of its majestic figure remain. Curious fact: The statue of Zeus was so influential that the image of the god on coins and later statues always followed its design. Fifth, the mausoleum at Halicarnassus. The mausoleum at Halicarnassus is known not only for its grandeur but because the term mausoleum comes from this monument. This colossal structure was erected in honor of King Mausolus of Caria by his wife Artemisia. At over 45 meters in height, the mausoleum was adorned with reliefs and sculptures depicting scenes from the king's life and the legends of his time. Artemisia, deeply in love with her husband, dedicated much of her life to the construction of this monument. After Mausolus's death, the mausoleum became a perfect blend of Greek, Egyptian, and Persian influences. Unfortunately, it was destroyed by a series of earthquakes, and today only scattered fragments remain of what was once one of the architectural masterpieces of the ancient world. Curious fact: the story goes that Artemisia was so devastated by Mausolus's death that she mixed his ashes with water and drank them as a sign of her devotion. Sixth, the Colossus of Rhodes. The Colossus of Rhodes was a gigantic statue of the sun god Helios, standing tall over the island of Rhodes in Greece. This immense bronze statue was over 30 meters high and was built to celebrate the Rhodians' victory over King Demetrius. The Colossus was a technical and artistic feat, constructed with iron and bronze, and it stood over the harbor, allowing ships to pass between its legs as they entered the city. Although this image has been debated by modern historians, sadly, the statue only stood for 56 years before it was toppled by an earthquake. Despite this, its image has endured as a symbol of resistance and triumph. Curious fact: while it is said that the remains of the Colossus were scattered for centuries, they were eventually sold as scrap metal, and today, no trace remains of this colossal structure. Seventh, the Lighthouse of Alexandria. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, also known as the Pharos Tower, was a guide for sailors arriving at the port of Alexandria in Egypt. With an estimated height of between 100 and 130 meters, it was one of the tallest structures ever built in the ancient world. The lighthouse not only helped ships navigate through dangerous waters but was also a marvel of architecture in itself. Built in 3 levels, a square base, an octagonal tower, and a circular top with a flame visible from miles away, it was an extraordinary feat of engineering. Like many of the other wonders, the Lighthouse of Alexandria succumbed to earthquakes, but for centuries it was a symbol of the grandeur and engineering ability of the ancient world. Curious fact: some archaeologists have found underwater remnants that are believed to be part of the lighthouse, which continues to generate interest in its reconstruction. This lighthouse stood for about 2 centuries longer than many others, but the one in Alexandria was nearly 280 years old before it fell in the 14th century, standing for over 1,500 years. That's incredible. It was the first, the largest, and the best, setting the standard, and when the Romans encountered it, they saw how useful lighthouses could be. If you've reached this point and learned something new from our stories, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos. Together, we can uncover and remember the truths that history often tries to hide.